Another whistleblower comes forth. UFOs are real.
I believe this guy.
So we have a former intelligence officer that turned whistleblower and is going to testify in front of Congress. Private entities, secret government organizations have had alien technology, crafts into the unknown. Do you really believe this guy, dude?
I mean, so a little bit of background about this guy. His name is David Grusch. He's 36 years old. He was a former combat veteran, and he was part of the National Spatial Intelligence Agency, NGO, as well as part of the ATIP program, which the program to the Pentagon to investigate UFOs or UAPs now. The only question I have about this guy is why is he coming forward now?
Right. That's always the question. Like, why this time? Why is all of a sudden the government interested and believing in UFOs when they never did before?
I mean, and especially like piggybacking off of our podcast about Stephen Greer, he says that he has all this information that people confided in him, all these UFOs, these alien spacecrafts that the government has, pseudo, black project budget companies have, but he's never seen one himself. That was the only part of the interview that he did on the news that I was like, wait, you're saying we have these, but you've never seen them. So how do you actually know that they're real?
Right. This is the thing with all whistleblowers and like with the government is this guy, besides looking him up on the internet and, yeah, he's a combat veteran.
Yep.
He's been in Afghanistan. He worked for all these 3-letter alphabet, agencies like the CIA, NGA, NRO, all these other, like you said, the ATIP program, all these programs that this guy supposedly worked on, right? We always went back to Bob Lazar and we always had that back and forth. Can we verify like Bob Lazar worked for these companies? Can we verify that this guy, David, worked for these companies?
Well, you can verify it, like open source. He did work for those companies. He did work for the ATIP program, the NGO, the NRO.
Yeah, which they fascinate me. The NGA is a world-class intelligence that provides like all this policymakers, war fighters, intelligent professionals, and first responders.
Yeah, they do a lot.
Yeah, but like, what do they actually do? They do stuff for space. Like all they talk about is space, and that's what I don't get about some of these agencies that this guy works for. Like we talked about Stephen Greer. His whole shtick has been for 30 years that he's going to protect whistleblowers. Why is he not in with Stephen Greer?
Well, Stephen Greer posted on his Twitter account that he did talk to this guy in 2022. He gave him like, all the information that, Stephen had, gave to David. David gave back to Stephen. He said he should come forward because of the Whistleblower Act and everything like that. So maybe that's why he's coming forward, is because he knows that he'll be protected. And he's supposed to testify in front of Congress on Sunday. Was it July 10th?
Yeah, so about like a month
or June
from now.
10th. Sorry,
June 10th. So yeah, a couple days from now.
What conclusion did you come to at the end of your time on the UAP task force?
The UAP task force was refused access to a broad crash retrieval program.
I know low-level government people don't know anything about black budget programs or, what's going on with the UFO community, or they're not told by these, entrenched politicians who've been there, who have worked on these programs.
I don't even think some of the politicians know about these special black budget projects.
No, and I'm sure even presidents in the United States don't even know about it.
I mean, because if you believe Stephen Greer, he says, he's had to, brief defense secretaries, presidents, this and this. I don't think half the people know exactly what's going on.
Especially if you're a politician, you're only in the air for 4 years, maybe 2 years at the most. Sometimes, there are lifers that probably know a lot more than sitting presidents that only are in for like 8 years. But at the same time, like, this guy, I don't know, like I have so many questions. And is he a true disinformation agent that's put out there by the government to say, hey, we have this UFOs? Because in the articles, in the interviews, he doesn't give out any information, man. Like there's no information.
The biggest takeaway I had from his interview and the articles, he believes we have these 5 alien crafts at the retrieval project that he talks about and everything like that. He's never seen it. And he was part of the ATIP program, that investigates UFOs, unidentified aerial phenomenon now, but he's never seen any of these crafts or any of these things. And it just brings me back to the fact that Bob Lazar talked about this in the 80s, and I believe him just because of the fact that he's created like tangible evidence that has been proven. Stephen Greer and this guy now, who's came out of nowhere, has like nothing. It doesn't show us anything.
Right, and that's the thing. That's where I always get back to, like, this is the stuff that is now so mainstream. Like, this story has blown up. and like it's
really
been shared
has.
on every news organizations, like government's talking about it, like everybody seems to be talking about it. Like 12 people shared this article with me. Oh my God, did you see this? Did you see this? Oh my God, this is great. This is groundbreaking information. Always go back to the same thing. Like this is nothing new.
But like for people who haven't followed
I understand
UFO things like you,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter
to
because
them it's new.
It's not new. If you actually read the report,
I know, but most people haven't.
why send me an article if you haven't read it? You just all of a sudden like get clickbait.
Most people don't know and haven't been researching and talking about UFOs. You know, in the 80s, 90s, and like early 2000s, they think this information is new and real.
I mean, I get it. People, you know, get clickbait into intelligent officials say USA has retrieved craft from non-human origin.
Why
So people
can't they
are like,
just say fucking alien?
well, that's the same thing. Why is the government changing things now? Like it's not, you can't say UFO, even though that came out from Hynek when he was doing the Project Blue Book UFOs, because they can't classify these things. There is certain classifications, which they talked about in Blue Book, that there's a certain percentage. This isn't man-made. We don't know where this is coming from.
The only thing I can think of, tell me if you like this theory, that we have ourselves alien technology that we've made craft. To say UFOs, I think that probably was a term used for like alien. UAPs are like, it could be them or it could be us now.
Well, yeah, like this is where it gets tricky because the government, why now all of a sudden? Like I said, like there's Project Sign, there's Project Grudge, there's Project Blue Book. There was all this information that's been out there. And like I said, yes, there is people that don't look into it like we look into it. There's people that aren't obsessed with this like I was.
They think this is new information.
Watching,
they think this is like groundbreaking.
Right, like Unsolved Mysteries, watching sightings, watching all these programs. Bob Lazar was on camera in the 80s. He was on all these different news organizations. He went around like, yes, it's not the media today.
No, it's
but
definitely
you can't compare that though. But it has been out there. You know, we can go back to the Roswell incident where they, you know, retrieved alien craft and bodies supposedly.
Well, yeah, the first day the newspaper, the Roswell was like, we retrieved an alien spacecraft with bodies.
Yeah, it said saucer crashed, and then the next day, oh, it's a weather balloon.
Yeah, so it has been going on forever, but now technology and like the way people consume media, I think it's now just blown up because of clicks and everything like that.
But here's the thing, like
getting more out there.
Here's the thing, like, yeah, I get that. I agree with all that. But at the same time, it's all right. Just because you read a headline that says, oh, we retrieved some craft. We did it. It's new.
People think that.
All right, 1952, you know, the UFO flap over Washington, D.C., where the military actually shot at something. Why is the military shooting at something? This is a known case that doesn't get a lot of play, like Roswell.
The Phoenix Lights.
Even though this is much bigger. Yeah. Even if you go chronologically down the line, you can go through the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, all the way up into the 80s to Bob Lazar coming out.
Sure.
You know, where he talks about like aliens and him seeing craft, him having documents, him having element 115.
That's why I go back to him being like the gold standard of somebody that's
a whistleblower.
Yes, that somebody's dealt with like UFOs and technology, because he said it way back when. His story hasn't changed. He never gained anything from it. He saw it himself. These other people like Stephen Greer and this guy, oh, I have these documents. I've never seen it though. People confide in me. Great. Somebody could tell you a great story.
Yeah, but here
then like, oh, you know this? Like, that's why I think Bob Lazar is the gold standard.
Right, I get that, but like the same thing with this guy, right? Why do people believe this guy? Now all of a sudden, like it's
I think they just believe him because he was part of like these projects and he was like a former combat vet.
That's great, but it's the same thing. Like I could tell you all this information, right? I could tell you Roswell, I could tell you 1952, I could tell you all these UFO cases.
Sure.
You know, the Wanakee UFO over New Jersey in the 1960s. So I can give you all this information and the people are like, I don't know if I believe you. But then all of a sudden this guy says, I've seen documents and people talk to me. Let me run out there. Oh my God, this is it. This is the whole
I don't
like
know.
It doesn't
why.
make sense to me.
It doesn't. I don't know why this guy's blown up. The only thing I could say is when he testifies in front of Congress, hopefully they ask him these questions like, where's the documents? Who has them? Who's seen this craft that you can identify? Are they willing to come forward? Because then it's like, then what do you actually have? Like, you have a story that we have these just because you worked on the ATIP program. What did you see then? Like, what did you encounter?
Well, that's what
this interview to never ask them that.
Well, yeah, that's what I would be really curious about. And that's one of the things too that makes me really weary about this story is, all right, the government's talking about it. Yep. And now like all these news channels are picking this up. So it makes me question it. It makes me question it that this guy doesn't have any information. Nobody's pressed him on it yet. Granted, that's great. He's going to, be in front of Congress. Is he going to get in trouble for lying if he actually does? Ooh, he might go to jail, and he'll probably never go to jail. Is he going to have documents to say, here's a document. This isn't
the only thing I can.
And then
think
he's
of,
going to get in trouble too. Like if he has classified documents and then he hands that over, he's going to get in shit ton of trouble.
I mean, the only thing you can go back to, if Stephen Greer is actually correct, and it's not from the government, it's from
a private company,
these private entities,
budget programs.
That doesn't cover it. But the only thing I can think of why the government and all these other people are now openly talking about UFOs or UAPs, whichever one you want to think of, there's no real way to divide us anymore, so they're going to have to create a new way in the future. Aliens are coming down and attacking us, give us more power so we can do this. That's the only logical explanation.
Well, yeah, if you think about like the Space Force was invented because we need to take care of, which makes sense.
It does make sense.
And if they knew this all along, they probably had a program in place from the United States Air Force or somebody else to say, hey, we need to protect our skies, we need to protect our space, we need to protect our satellites, all this other things. Aliens aren't real. We still have to protect our satellites. How can we do this? We have the Space Force now. But not only that, what if we really do have these crafts, and then now the government is, a lot of people believe this. Like if you talk to the UFO community, you talk to a lot of people that have been entrenched, and they're all saying the same thing. Like, why now? Why after all these years, oh, you're into UFOs, you're crazy. And now it's like, yes, what if they really have technology? Or a lot of people say they have these hologramic technology where they're going to now fake an alien invasion.
Sure. If they are real, if it comes out, hey, we have these craft, it's going to turn everything up on its end of what people believe, how we were conceived to get here. Because if you look at any religious, person, Adam and Eve, that goes out the window, because like we're supposed to be the only beings that God created, this and this. It's gonna throw everyone off, and I don't think people are ready for that. Well, the only other thing I can say is like it's not taboo anymore to talk about UFOs or ghosts or Bigfoot or anything like that.
I mean, I think it is. There's certain people that look like, even when they know what when I talk to certain people, maybe at work or wait, you're into that? Usually when you say that, people will open up and say,
they're like, oh shit,
I have a story. I have a ghost story. I get that, but I think no matter what happens, you're still going to have a third of the people, the population of the world, who are like hardcore believers. A third of the population are going to be like, no way. And then usually a third of the people, on average, that are going to be like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah, because it doesn't affect them yet, and they probably don't care.
I mean, the biggest thing is like this guy could be like, another theory is this guy could be a disinformation agent that's put forth by the government to kind of throw people off, to say, look over there.
Yeah, because we're doing something over here.
Right,
exactly.
And they're doing some type of program, and that's what maybe they were doing in the 1950s, or during the World War II in the 1940s, when they were saying like, oh shit, maybe it was a craft that we were working on for World War II.
Yeah,
I mean, I know it was pretty much ending. So
then you got the Cold War, so that maybe that
right. We were working on something and we crashed, and then we're like, oh shit, down saucer. Because people were talking about a saucer, and it's like, oh crap, that's the craft we have. Why don't we see more crafts like that in our military? Why isn't like, all right, we're trying to invent these crafts because people see them.
I mean, the only other thing I could think of, it's so deep secreted that they'll only pull that out in emergencies.
Yeah, and that's maybe why people believe like they're gonna, fake an alien invasion for something, for more control, or to like, this is for your safety. We're gonna have everybody shelter in place.
Yeah.
And this is like the next big event. Or they change everything. But again, like it doesn't make sense, because I am always on that fence, because if you have people like him and he's part of this disinformation thing, you're gonna have people, the government, that have no clue what's going on. So then what does it benefit them?
The only other thing I could think of too, if we do have these programs of crash retrieval programs, people are going to talk. People naturally want to talk. People naturally want to disclose this information. So I think it would have come out.
Yeah, then why haven't more people come out and talked about this? I don't know. Like, and what made
Unless they killed them off. I don't know.
See, they never asked this guy this too in like the interview on the news or in the articles that I read. Maybe it is out there so people could share it with us. I don't know. They never asked this guy, why are you coming out?
Yeah, why are you coming out? Again, that's why I'm intrigued to see what he says in front of Congress. Like, who has this information? Are they willing to come forward? Why are you coming forward? How come you've never seen this, but you believe it? What did you actually do in the ATIP or NRO or NGA? Like, how didn't you see any of these things?
if they're really doing some nefarious stuff,
Which they
off
probably
this
are.
guy before you
100%.
can even talk. Because like everybody is, there's no way to be secret anymore. There's
No,
no like,
there's definitely not.
you could download DuckDuckGo, you could download Signal, but all this shit, like they have Pegasus, right? Pegasus 1 and 2.
Yeah, you don't even need to open it up on your phone. They just send it to your phone and it's already on there.
Right. Before they could, you had to click a link or click something to like, for them to listen. Now they could pretty much just like, bloop,
That's
we got
why,
you.
that's why, I want to believe this guy. He's never seen anything. He doesn't have any documents unless he produces it in front of Congress. I'm on the fence about this guy.
Right. Do I need information from David to say that aliens are out there? No, I really do think they are. Like there's a number of instances where we said it before, man. We have the 1952, 1947.
The only other thing I can think of, but again, it had to come from somewhere, the technology. So I do believe there was something else out there and that we reverse engineer it and we do have craft, that technology.
Well, yeah, we talked about it tons of times before where
Yep.
we have this technology and they pretty much, push this forward. Because if you look at the history, the timeline of human beings for so long,
Nothing happened.
nothing. And then all of a sudden, like maybe some of these events, pushed it over the edge, and people were already going this way. Or maybe there was aliens kind of like feeding us information and seeding it like, all right, we're going to just crash this craft here. It's just really like a drone. It's nothing to us. And then they're going to take that technology and then kind of flip it. And now we have all these phones. Now we have all this stuff. If you find one thing out, then exponentially, like you could pretty much, fast forward it. To go from 160 years ago, we were still fighting on horseback and cannon and bayonets. And now all of a sudden, now we have just cyber warfare, death ray guns and drones and all these other technology. Who's to say like alien crafts aren't really drones and they're just putting information down?
Maybe.
Because I believe it, man. Like I really do believe it.
You just don't believe this guy.
I always think that there's something nefarious going on, whether it's the government, whether it's the media. And when the government and media are kind of like one and the same,
Yeah.
and now all of a sudden, like there's been tons of stories from the past couple years, and even presidents have come when they're on television shows to be like, do aliens exist? And then they're always like, I may have seen them, but I can't tell you. And they all say the same thing. It's like, all right, something's going on. I don't know. Like, it's one of these things where UFOs really fascinate me. I'm really curious to see what this guy has to say, even though I don't think it's going to be anything. I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts? If you had to give this right now a thumbs up, thumbs down, what are you feeling?
It's undecided because he hasn't produced any evidence. So that's why I say wait until he goes in front of Congress. And if he produces something, I'll give it a thumbs up. If he doesn't, I'll give it a thumbs down.
So right now we can't even give you a thumbs.
No.
We're not even giving. All right. You're just
Thumbless.
You're thumbless.
You're giving it a thumbs down.
I am giving it a thumbs down just because, all right, this guy's seeing is believing, right? Seeing is always believing.
Yep. He
And
hasn't seen anything.
He hasn't seen anything.
And he
has
hasn't produced
no
anything.
information. There's no papers, as we know right now. Who's to say, like, why now? Like, I even asked, like, if I was on being interviewed, do you know why I'm doing this? Nobody asked him that.
No.
He's not even saying why he's doing this. Like, he didn't openly say, I'm doing this because this information needs to be, blah, blah, blah. But he's not doing it. I don't know if I believe this guy. I think he could be some type of government agent still working for the government. And I'm sure he's, one of these patriots that I've worked for the government my whole life. You know what? I'm doing the American thing.
Maybe.
And putting this forward. So I'm really giving this a thumb down. I don't know. Let us know your thoughts. Make sure to subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Hit the bell for notifications. Follow along to our Patreon page with our postcard club. And visit our shop, shopnightmare365.com. And until next time,
Stay spooky. Here we change. The light changes every time.
no, because I'm trying to dial it in. Greg doesn't help me out. Don't shake. Come on, dude.
What? Bigfoot's still standing.
Yeah, stop shaking.
All right.
You're very fidgety.
David Grusch.
You know I'm gonna fuck this up.
David Grusch.
Stop.
I don't think that thing. I'm not. I just put my hand down. I'm not even. I didn't even touch the table.